was an abusive relationship.
Deep down inside, I was thinking, I need to run as hard as I can.
Sent my finger through the table saw.
Basically just took one leap, jumped off this cliff.
I know it wasn't just something that happens. I'm Wendy Carroll. I'm a real estate agent in Gunnison, Colorado.
My name is Daniel Pennington, and presently I'm working at the brush fire.
I am Jenny Lane. I live in Gunnison. I work with Today Realty.
My name's Jason Lane. I am owner-broker of Today Realty in Gunnison.
I'm a single mom with 3 kids, and I was needing to redo some of my floors. I was ripping the last one, actually the last piece I needed for the flooring, and I don't know, I just slipped, sent my finger through the table saw. I grabbed my hand and unplugged the saw. I ran into the bathroom and I grabbed some toilet paper and wrapped it around. And I ran through the hallway and out the front door. I just started screaming over and over, God help, I cut off my finger. A guy down the street came out to see if he could help, and I asked him if he would please go look for my finger in the garage. He went and looked through my garage for me, and a neighbor across the way called 911, took me over to the hospital. There's no nail remaining. The surgeon said that they were just gonna clip the bone down a little bit for me. Cut off about a 1/4 inch of bone, I guess. Told me that probably would never have a fingernail again. Called a couple of my close friends to pray. But a couple of days into it, I felt physically like my finger was growing through the stitches or something. I felt like the stitches were holding me back. And so I called my doctor. He unwrapped it, he looked at it, and they couldn't believe what they saw. By the end of about 2 weeks, it was all the way grown back, just a little tiny bit on the top that was still healing. It works. It's the same size as my other finger, which is kind of cool.
I got sick with multiple sclerosis and threw my hands up and was like, I'm gonna party. Ran off to Vegas and got married, and it was an abusive relationship. And through that relationship, I ended up doing a lot of drugs, and I was a stripper. It was just a bad situation.
This is my senior year of high school. I was ready to get out of school. My counselor told me that there's an easy class that I should take, and it was called the Bible as Literature. During the class, we learned about the 10 Commandments, and at that point I was like, man, I want to follow this. This is awesome. Like, it's so much better than what I've been doing. It gives me more purpose, and it gives me more meaning to my life. So I went up on this little ledge, and it kind of overlooks the town and my neighborhood.
I wanted to come up here to Gunnison to spend time with my grandmother, and a time for breathing and a time to heal. Jason was out in the lawn playing with some kids, and she came out to the track, and she started telling me about him and telling me how glad she was that he was back in church and how wonderful it was because his dad was so worried about him because he had smoked marijuana. And I was like, ding, 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 score, I'm getting some weed. And that was how I started thinking I would hang out with him.
Her grandmother, at some point during that day, had told me a little bit about her, just that she was going through divorce, and that if I wouldn't mind, just be nice to her.
I'd been high, I'd done drugs for 3 years straight. I don't remember a day in that 3 years where I'd been sober.
In high school, I'd had a vision of who I was supposed to be, and it was the guy with the best pot, you know, and people would like me because of that, and there just wasn't fulfillment in there.
Sunday came around, and he wanted to fix me dinner at his house, and in that I was thinking, crud, I gotta get rid of this guy.
I never really was thinking about it any other way, other than I knew her grandmother very well and respected her a lot.
I tell him my entire story thinking that he would run screaming to the door. He had never done anything, nothing.
So I got an X-rated story really quickly. Deep down inside, I was thinking, I need to run as hard as I can.
He didn't run screaming like I thought he would.
The heart that I saw, the person I saw, wasn't the same person that had done all those things. It was really easy for me to separate her from her past that way. I never even considered it as part of her future.
He looked at me and said, I think I'm here to help you heal.
That was not my words. That was not where I was coming from. That was 100% God. He immediately put a plan in action.
I had an engagement ring on, but my heart wasn't in it. I was just along for the ride until I saw a door to get out. Jason and I got married, and on our honeymoon got pregnant. I begged God, please give me a girl. Please, God, give me a girl. I cannot do this. I cannot raise a boy child. I had that baby, and they told me it was a boy. I was just like, how can you expect me to love and raise a boy child when I cannot stand men?
Thought came into my head, if I was to jump off this cliff and God would save me from this fall, it would be like a miracle that people would see and believe in God. I started to kind of cry. I was like, this is nuts. I don't know how much time went by before I got the courage to jump off the cliff. And finally I hit, and I get up and my head is bleeding like crazy. Like soon after I fell and was running through the trees and the brush, I thought about Jesus and how he bled on the cross. And at that moment in time, I had this immense peace overcome me.
We were on our way to Arizona to see his mom. We had gone into a store and there were some men there that just really irritated me. And I was just bashing them. From Gunnison, Colorado, halfway to Tucson, Arizona. He looked at me and he said, what you say about men. He turned to Eric in the back seat and he said, he is gonna turn out to be that. That shut my mouth.
And I just so happened, right when I come out of the forest, I run into this couple walking their dog. I tell them that I love them, and they were like, no, you don't love us. And I said, you don't understand. So they take me to the hospital, and the doctor says that I'm nuts and sends me to the mental institution. I get evaluated by a psychologist. Basically, he just tells me that I'm not crazy and that I had a religious experience. That wasn't supposed to happen. I was expecting a miracle, you know? And so that summer, I started to get back into like smoking and partying with my friends, and it didn't have the same effect, like, because I knew there was something better, and it was that relationship that I had with God.
When she was fighting me, I would just dig harder with God, and I would read more in the Bible. It's amazing to me how much that changed our world, because just learning the basic fundamental of what Christ did for his kingdom, dying for it, is one thing. I mean, I know husbands that would take a bullet for their wife, but would they live for their wife?
We started out in such a hurricane that we had to turn to God, both of us.
I want to be there. I want to be the rock. I want to be the solid person that on this earth she can turn to and know that nothing's going to move me. And the only way I can be that person is through God.
At that time, when I jumped off that cliff, my understanding was that I needed to show people God, and that if they saw his miracle, they would believe in him. I think God humbled me that day, and he showed me that it's not on me, it's not based on me, that it's based upon what God has done for us.
He cares, he heals, and he still heals today in Gunnison.